Well, thank you first of all for that very generous, warm welcome. It's great to be in Oldham. I've never been to Oldham before, and I'm often in Manchester, but I haven't had a chance to come to Oldham previously, and I had a very informed taxi driver who brought me here, so and I feel more informed than perhaps anyone ought to be at their initial meeting with Oldham. So thank you very much for inviting me just to say a few words. I'm not going to talk for too long, despite what looks like a rather long speech. I don't think people like very long speeches, and you're here to see the exhibition in any case. But I don't know how much you know about the work of the Contemporary Art Society, so I'm just going to say a little bit about what we do. We work with public collections, so this is a project that really forms part of a wide range of concerns that we have about the enduring vitality of these really important and quite depleted often public collections that we value enormously. The Contemporary Art Society is a national organisation. We're a charity, and we were founded incredibly 100 years ago, at the very beginning of modernism in 1910, and we exist to develop public collections of contemporary art in the UK. We're a membership organisation. We have museums that are members of the Contemporary Art Society. We work with about 90 public collections of modern and contemporary art and craft, ranging from Tate in London right through to tiny local authority regional museums like the Grundy in Blackpool, and of course very many institutions in the northwest. We work with 12 institutions here, including Gallery Oldham and Touchstones Rochdale, institutions like the Harris in Preston and the Walker in Liverpool and Manchester City Art Gallery, and we've given about 520 thereabouts works to this specific region of England, and we do so because public collections are hugely important. I know the world's changing a lot, and people access their visual cultures in radically different ways from, say, 20 years ago. The internet, of course, has transformed things. But ultimately, public collections are the way that those audiences that don't go to contemporary art, those niche audiences that go to contemporary art venues, usually in the major metropolitan spaces, that it's really important that we put contemporary art into these spaces where they're accessed by the very substantial number of people that go to museums. Something like 25 million people a year go to museums and art galleries like this. So it's important that contemporary art is accessible to the most diverse audience nationally, no matter where they might live, and without supposing that they would have the opportunity or the inclination or the confidence sometimes to go into one of those kind of scary white cube spaces, often where contemporary art's made available. So there's something very democratic and accessible about a public collection, like this kind of collection. But also, of course, these public collections are important because it's the only way in which the story of the history of art, stretching back for centuries, how that story is made available to the public, be that Tate, be that this kind of institution, no matter where it is. You have the opportunity to look at contemporary art as part of a continuity of visual culture, increasingly internationalized. And I think, apart from the fact that, I suppose what I would just want to stress is that when all of these public collections were originally formed, they were contemporary collections. You know, the people that collected the pre-Raphaelites, or the Camden Town, or the Euston Road, or the Bloomsbury, they're all buying at the time. And so for these collections just to stop, as sadly some of them have, it's really peculiar. But it means that the most recent chapters, if you like, or the most recent episodes in the thinking and the ideas of our visual culture are not being made available as part of that story in the history of art. So to take one really good example, and I was talking earlier about this when I arrived, that the whole YBA generation, arguably the most influential, high-profile art movement, very modernist idea, but let's say a grouping of artists that have emerged in recent decades, none of them are in public collections apart from Tate, the national collection. So if you want to go and look at the Damien-Hirst or actually decide what you really think about Tracy Irving, having read those tabloid headlines about unmade beds and piles of bricks and all the other things that we read, you'll have to go to London to look at them, or look at them in books. Now that seems to me just to be a terrifically sad thing, And we've all been very fortunate, those of us that are old enough to say this, to have inherited these wonderful collections. And I think that future generations will wonder slightly what went wrong when, at the one moment when there was this unprecedented level of interest in contemporary art, that these collections just stopped. So this is something that keeps us awake at night. That's what we do at the Contemporary Art Society. And of course, what's interesting about these collections is not only the things that they contain, but the things that they omit. And so, apart from the YBAs, the positions, the very particular perspectives and achievements of female artists, much overlooked, of course, very sort of male collections that we have, very European, very heterosexual, the unique perspectives of those areas of our society that have been historically marginalised or continue to be marginalised are not reflected within this story, this script about the history of art. And of course that's especially true, appallingly, about those artists that are defined as being culturally diverse artists. Their achievements and accomplishments are also largely not included within these highly Victorian, quite colonial, but still working on it, collections of art that are have been developed here in Britain. And it means that the mainstreaming of those cultural forms and the dialogue between those forms that exist within our society, thankfully, as being a very mixed cultural society now, are not being told in public collections. So I think that this kind of exhibition is very much to be welcomed, and I want to congratulate all the partners that are involved and Shisha for creating a dialogue, a very important dialogue, and to provide a level of visibility, a modest level of visibility, bearing in mind the achievements of these kinds of artists, in the context of public collections. We need many more exhibitions like this, and I think it's a fantastic initiative, and we just need to have as many as we possibly can, because otherwise the relevance and the vitality of these collections will be enormously depleted. So it's a great pleasure to be here, and I will go and enjoy the sights of Oldham and the collection, and thank you for standing on your feet a little longer than you probably want to rather than looking at the work. So thank you.